CDL Practice Test, Florida, Air Brake, Part 5. Question number 107. A low air pressure warning comes on before what C? A. 70 C, B. 80 C, C. 50 C, D. 60 C. The correct answer is here, D. 60 C. Explanation. A low air pressure warning, such as a red light and or a buzzer, must come on before the air tank falls below 60 C, or 0.5. The compressor governor cut out pressure on some older vehicles. Question number 108. How is the parking brake released? A. By tapping the brake pedal 3 times. B. By starting the vehicle. C. By tapping the accelerator twice. D. By pushing in the brake control knob. The correct answer is here, D. By pushing in the brake control knob. Explanation. In vehicles with air brakes, the parking brake is controlled by a knob. The knob is pulled out to apply the brakes, and pushed in to release them. Question number 109. Truck tractors with air brakes that were built on or after the 1st of March, 1997 are equipped with A. An extra set of brakes. B. Voice-activated brakes. C. Cruise control. D. Anti-lock braking systems, ABS. The correct answer is here, D. Anti-lock braking systems, ABS. Explanation. Truck tractors with air brakes that were manufactured on or after the 1st of March, 1997 are required to be equipped with anti-lock braking systems, ABS. ABS is required in any other type of vehicle with air brakes that was manufactured on or after the 1st of March, 1998. Question number 110. What can a leak in the air brake system cause? A. Backup generators to fill the emergency air tanks. B. A loss of pressure in all braking systems. C. The service brake system to retain minimal usability. D. The springs in the spring braking system to apply the brakes. The correct answer is here, D. The springs in the spring braking system to apply the brakes. Explanation. When the air brake system has a leak, the air is let out of the system. This air is what holds the springs back, which means the spring brakes will be applied when the air is released. Question number 111. To apply the parking brakes under normal conditions. A. Be sure the air brake system is fully pressurized. B. Turn off the engine. C. Let the air out of the brake chambers. The correct answer is here, C. Let the air out of the brake chambers. Explanation. The parking brake control allows you to evacuate air from the brake chambers. With the air gone, the spring brakes will come on automatically and hold your vehicle in place. Question number 112. Air braking takes more time than hydraulic braking because air. A. Brakes use different brake drums. B. Takes more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid. C. Brakes require heavier return springs. The correct answer is here, B. Takes more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid. Explanation. With hydraulic brakes, hydraulic fluid is always in the system, so the brakes will be applied instantly when you depress the brake pedal. With air brakes, the compressed air must flow through a complex series of lines, valves, etc., to reach and fill the brake chambers before the brakes can begin to slow your vehicle. This brake lag can take at least a half second. Question number 113. If you need to stop quickly and your vehicle lacks anti-lock brakes, you can use A. the stab braking method, B. the controlled braking method, C. Both are correct. The correct answer is here, C. Both are correct. Explanation. If you need to stop quickly, use either the controlled braking method or the stab braking method. However, if your vehicle has anti-lock brakes, stab braking won't work because the wheels won't lock. Use controlled braking instead. Question number 114. The braking system that applies the brakes when the driver presses the brake pedal is the brake system. A. Parking. B. Emergency. C. Service. The correct answer is here, C. Service. Explanation. Air brakes are really 3 braking systems in one: the emergency brake, the parking brake, and the service brake. As these names suggest, when you depress the brake pedal in normal driving, it's the service brake system that applies the brakes. Question number 115. If your vehicle has a properly functioning dual air brake system and minimum sized air tanks, the air pressure should build from 85 to 100 C within seconds. A. 60, B. 20, C. 45. The correct answer is here, C. 45. Explanation. In dual air systems with minimum sized air tanks, the pressure should build from 85 to 100 C within 45 seconds. Open bracket. With larger air tanks, it can take longer. Check the manufacturer's specifications for the expected amount of time. If it takes longer than it should, there may be a problem with your system that may cause you to lose air pressure while you're driving. Question number 116. Which of these is true regarding the air governor-compressor relationship? A. Cutout pressure is 100-120 C. B. When the air tank pressure rises to cutout level, the air governor signals the compressor to begin pumping air. C. The air governor is located inside of the compressor. D. The air governor controls the compressor. The correct answer is here, D. The air governor controls the compressor. Explanation. The air governor is located on, or near, the compressor, and its job is to regulate the amount of air pressure in the system. It does this by reacting to the air tank cutout and cut-in pressures. When the cutout level has been reached, about 125 C, the air governor tells the compressor to stop pumping air. Conversely, when pressure falls to the cut-in level, 100 C, the air governor tells the compressor to begin pumping air. Question number 117. If the safety relief valve in the air brake system releases air, A. the compressor needs more air, B. you may continue driving, C. there is something wrong with the brakes. The correct answer is here, C. there is something wrong with the brakes. Explanation. An air brake system has a safety relief valve, which releases air from the tanks if the pressure gets too high. If the valve must operate, something in the system is wrong and should be addressed by a mechanic. Question number 118. How does letting up on the brake pedal release the brakes? A. The system releases the brakes through a combination of air being released and the brake levers being loosened. B. Compressed air is pushed back into the air tanks. C. The action releases the brake pads. D. Some compressed air is let out of the system, causing the brake pads and or shoes to disengage. The correct answer is here, D. Some compressed air is let out of the system, causing the brake pads and or shoes to disengage. Explanation. When a person lets go of the brake pedal, the air pressure in the air tanks is reduced by letting air out of the system. This causes the brakes to be released. Question number 119. On large, heavy vehicles, the parking or emergency brakes must be held on by something that cannot leak away, such as A. Hydraulic pressure, B. Air pressure, C. Spring pressure. The correct answer is here, C. Spring pressure. Explanation. Federal safety regulations require buses and trucks to have parking and emergency brakes that don't rely on compressed air or hydraulic fluid to work, because these can leak away. Hence, the parking and emergency brakes rely on mechanical force such as springs. Question number 120. Vehicles with dual air brake systems. A. Maintain full capacity air pressure in the braking systems even when the vehicle is not running. B. Maintain some air pressure in the braking systems when the vehicle is not running. C. Do not need time to build air pressure before a trip. D. Must be run to build enough air pressure to brakes to operate properly. The correct answer is here, D. Must be run to build enough air pressure to brakes to operate properly. Explanation. Before driving a vehicle with a dual air brake system, you must allow the air compressor time to build up at least 100 C of air pressure in both the primary and secondary systems more. Question number 121. In a dual air brake system, which parts of braking does each system typically operate? A. One system operates the brakes on the rear axles. The other operates the regular brakes on the front axle and the trailer. B. One system operates the brakes on the front and rear axles. The other operates the brakes on the trailer, and possibly a rear axle. C. One system operates the brakes on the rear axles and the trailer. The other operates the regular brakes on the front axle, and possibly a rear axle. D. One system operates the brakes on the rear axles. The other operates the regular brakes on the front axle, and possibly a rear axle. Both supply air to the trailer. The correct answer is here, D. One system operates the brakes on the rear axles. The other operates the regular brakes on the front axle, and possibly a rear axle. Both supply air to the trailer. Explanation. There is a primary and secondary system. The primary usually operates the regular brakes on the rear axles and the secondary usually operates the regular brakes on the front axle, and possibly a rear axle. Both systems send air to the trailer brakes. Question number 123. If your truck or bus has dual parking control valves, you can use air pressure from a separate tank to A. Stay parked twice as long without using up service air pressure. B. Balance the service brake system when you are parked. C. Release the spring emergency parking brakes. The correct answer is here. C. Release the spring emergency parking brakes. Explanation. With a dual parking control valve you can use the pressure from a separate air tank to give enough air pressure to release the spring brakes and move your vehicle. This is very useful in emergency situations. Question number 124. The safety valve is set to automatically reduce pressure at A. 50 C, B. 100 C, C. 150 C. The correct answer is here. C. 150 C. Explanation. The safety valve, which protects the system from excessive pressure, is usually set to open when the system reaches 150 C. Question number 125. Modern air brake systems are three different systems combined: the service brakes, parking brakes, and brakes. A. Foot. B. Emergency. C. S-cam. The correct answer is here. B. Emergency. Explanation. The emergency brake system utilizes parts of the service brakes and the parking brakes in case your braking systems fail and need to come to a stop. Question number 126. When should you drain your air tanks? A. At the end of the fiscal quarter. B. At the end of each working day. C. At the end of the month. D. At the end of a trip. The correct answer is here. B. At the end of each working day. Explanation. Unless your vehicle automatically drains the air tanks, you should drain them at the end of each working day so that the moisture and oil do not freeze or coagulate and cause your brakes to then fail. Question number 127. If your tractor is equipped with ABS but your trailer is not, the ABS, A. will not be effective. B. will make jackknifing easier. C. will allow others to see when you brake. D. will still improve your steering control. The correct answer is here. D. will still improve your steering control. Explanation. In a tractor-trailer combination, if the tractor is equipped with an anti-lock braking system, ABS, but the trailer is not, the ABS will still improve the driver's steering control. The driver should keep an eye on the trailer and let up on the brakes if the trailer begins to swing out. Question number 128. The cutout level and cut-in level for the air compressor governor are roughly what pressure per square inch? C. A. 100 C and 80 C. B. 150 C and 125 C. C. 150 C and 100 C. D. 125 C and 100 C. The correct answer is here. D. 125 C and 100 C. Explanation. The governor determines when the air compressor will stop and start. This is typically referred to as cutout for stop and cut-in for start. When the pressure per square inch, C, reaches roughly 125 C, The governor stops the compressor. When the pressure falls below roughly 100 C, the governor starts the compressor again. Question number 129. You'll know that your brakes are fading if A. You release the brake pedal and your speed increases. B. The brake feels spongy when you apply pressure. C. You have to press the brake pedal harder than usual to control your speed. The correct answer is here, C. You have to press the brake pedal harder than usual to control your speed. Explanation. If your brakes begin to fade, you'll notice that you have to press the brake pedal harder to achieve the same braking effect as before. If your vehicle is so equipped, check the application pressure gauge to see just how much pedal effort you are employing. If the brakes continue to fade, you may not be able to slow down or stop at all. Question number 130. If your vehicle has an alcohol evaporator, you should daily in cold weather. A. Check the oil for alcohol content. B. Check the alcohol level and refill as needed. C. Completely replace the alcohol. The correct answer is here, B. Check the alcohol level and refill as needed. Explanation. Alcohol vapor from the alcohol evaporator helps keep ice from forming in the lines and valves of the air brake system. Check the alcohol level daily and refill as needed. Question number 131. What is the purpose of an alcohol evaporator? A. To prevent a buildup of ice in the air brake system. B. To provide additional windshield washer fluid. C. So the air tanks won't have to be drained as often. The correct answer is here, A. To prevent a buildup of ice in the air brake system. Explanation. Alcohol evaporators put alcohol vapor into the air system to help prevent water in the lines or valves from freezing. Ice in the lines or valves can cause them to stop working.